put the cell phones away.
Well, maybe because it was so late, we should have
Good afternoon. We're gonna start.
Okay.
My name is Ana Jaramillo, and I'm gonna serve as the third-party public hearing officer for the PVTA. Today is the last of the 9 public hearings that PVTA has done. Today is the last day for comments. Your comments will be transcribed and provided to the PVTA advisory board. Your comments are essential in having a comprehensive understanding of the impact these changes will have on the PVTA riders. We are here today to listen to your comments. There are also a number of other ways to provide comments, including via email at comments@pvta.com, via phone 413-732-6248, extension 239. You can leave a message up to 3 minutes, or by mail. All the information is also at the tables. You can take it with you when you leave, or you can visit the pvta.com. I would like to introduce Crystal Aldridge, and she's going to do a presentation, and after the presentation, I encourage you all for questions and answers, and then we can hear the comments you have. And like I said before, everything will be recorded and transcribed and provided to the board. Okay?
Hello? Can everybody hear me without this? All right, I'm just going to speak loud.
loud.
There's not very many of us. So
I just want to make sure the recorder gets it, so I'll just speak loud. I'm good at that. So my name is Crystal Aldred. I am the Director of Operations and Planning for the PVTA, and thank you for attending our last hearing that's been rescheduled twice due to snow. So the agenda for this is we're going to go over the current conditions and background, go over the proposed fare increase, the proposed service changes. I know that Anna had mentioned how to comment, but we'll have a slide up if you want to jot any of that information down. We also can pull out some handouts if you'd like that as well, and then what the next steps are.
I'm sorry, Crystal. Does anybody here need a special assistant or require a translation or any hearing assistant or something like that? No? Okay, I just want to make sure we cover that.
Oh, got it. So this is a map of the PVTA service area. It spans the 2 counties. We've got 43 routes that operate over 600 square miles in 24 member municipalities, all the way down from Longmeadow all the way up in the north to Sunderland and Leverett. On an average given day, we carry about 45,000 riders, and we have 3 main terminals. This is in Westfield at the Over Pavilion, here at HTC in Holyoke, and at Union Station in Springfield. Additionally, we have major transfer points up in Northampton at the Academy of Music and in Amherst downtown, as well as on the UMass campus. The area does serve about 580,000 residents, but this number does fluctuate during the year. Due to the numerous higher education institutions that are here, there's about a dozen different colleges and universities within our service area, and many of those students do use the PVTA services, so the numbers fluctuate on any given month. So this provides an overview of how PVTA is funded for this year. So, what is that?
Don't mind it. Sorry.
Okay. So our overall budget is $46.8 million, and this is the budget to run buses. This is what we call our operating budget. It's what it costs to put the buses and the vans on the road. Our money, about half of it comes from the state through state contract assistance, so $23 million. Of that, we also get a pretty good chunk from our member communities, so that's those 24 that I talked about before, and they're given an assessment based on the number of miles of buses that traverse their community within a given year, and the number of riders that get on within their community within a given year. We also get some money from the federal government. That's what we call 5307 money, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later, because it kind of ties into how we got to where we are now. We got about $7.4 million from the fare box, and from the sale of passes at the different customer service outlets. So what's pulled off the buses as well as from those boxes there. And then a very small percent from grants, ads, interest. It only counts for about 2%. So, as I mentioned, the state contract assistant accounts for almost half of our budget, 49%. And so this shows some history of how much we've gotten from the state government. So you'll see in FY14, we received $18.4 million from money from the state to fund operations. The following year, we got a lot more, an extra $4.5 million because Transportation Reform Act was instituted. And what that means is they said, we're going to fund you, we're going to give you better funding, and each year we're going to increase your funding by 3%. So we took that money and we added a lot of service. So we added some new routes, and then so some of the existing routes, we made it, some of them so that they operated a little bit earlier on the weekends, or maybe they ran later, or maybe they, instead of operating every 30 minutes, they operate every 20 minutes or every 15 minutes. So we invested it all back into our system. The following year, we got a little bit more, and we made some more minor tweaks and adjustments to smooth it out. As you can see, is in FY17, we received the same amount, actually slightly less than what we received the year before. So, while we were told we were going to get 3% increase, it obviously did not come about in 2017, or fiscal year 2017. So, in order to not have to reduce any service, we flexed money over that we get from the federal government from our 5307, money that's meant for capital, so buying buses, buying capital equipment, buying vehicles, etc. We flexed that over into operating so that we could use that money to operate our buses. And so we have reached the max amount that we are legally allowed by the federal government to flex over, and it does hurt our capital program long term in replacing vehicles. If they're not replaced on the schedule that their useful life, which is about 13 years, they do start to become more expensive to maintain, which goes into our kind of a downward spiral of our operating costs. So last year, as some of you may or may not have been here, we were here again, and we were doing this public hearing because we had a budget deficit. We had a $1.2 million budget deficit, so we had to trim back our service. And so we ended up reducing.
I don't understand.
Can we wait until she finishes the presentation?
Okay,
Thank you.
We'll do. But it was on this slide particularly.
Okay, we can come back to it.
All right.
So essentially, the summary of this slide is we were told we would get 3% increase every year, and we haven't gotten it. So this year, we were told by the governor that we are going to be level funded to the same levels as last year, which means that we are going to get $23 million from the state to fund our operations of our services. So that 3% hasn't come to fruition, but as you're probably aware, cost of things go up, but we aren't getting more money. You had raised your hand, sir, in the back?
It's because of the corruption at the state level that they don't have the money they promised you, and you don't want to fund the PVTA on the backs of the poor, okay? And that's my opinion, and it's solid. So, have a good day.
Thank you.
And will not be increased in some funds that I had to give you. I may look rich, but, well, I'm rich in things, but I don't have a lot of money. And
That's why we ride buses.
Sir, I'm sorry. If you can hold this, very important, but if we can let her finish at least her presentation, we're gonna hear.
Okay.
Yes, please.
That's
well,
misleading.
you heard me,
Thank you.
okay.
That's misleading right there.
Okay, so,
We're gonna come back,
All right.
it's gonna be time, but
I wish
if
we
we
could
let
take notes, but-
Crystal
No,
finish the
no.
presentation, we're gonna have all the information to do questions and
So-
answers.
as a result of being level funded from the state, which means we didn't get the 3% increase, we have an anticipated $3.1 million budget deficit for the upcoming year, fiscal year. And it's because of an increase in fuel costs, an increase in wage rates, increase in insurance costs, specifically health, just general inflation, things go up. And then that coupled with being level funded by the state, essentially your bills go up, but you get the same amount of money, means you got a negative number. And we have to be fiscally responsible and respond to the budget that's given to us by the governor in order to move forward with in 2018 on July 1 to have a fiscally balanced budget, which is a requirement. So the shortfall, we are looking at addressing it in two ways. There's the proposed fare increase and the proposed service changes. I'd like to point out that the $3.1 million would be a larger number if we weren't doing the fare increase. It would, so if we were to not increase fares and just to do service changes, it would be probably closer, at least $500,000 higher that we would be looking to cut, which means we'd be cutting back more service. So why are we raising fares? We'll get into the fares first, and then we'll get into the service changes. The first is we're being asked to look at our fares by MassDOT. They said, we have one of the second lowest fares in the state compared to the 15 other regional transit authorities. It's been 10 years since we've had a fare increase, and with the rising costs, they're asking us to raise the fares to help offset some of the rising costs. So a little bit of history. I'd mentioned it's been 10 years, so 2008, 2009, 2008 was the last time we had a fare increase. You can see in this graph that in 97 and in 2008, when we had a fare increase, we did not experience a decrease in ridership, and that is because at that time we were not doing any sort of service reductions. We were just purely implementing a fare increase. In 2003, at that time, we were in a budget issue, and we had to reduce service and increase fares, and as you can see, ridership dropped, and it's taken a very long time to get back up to those levels, and so we are unfortunately anticipating a ridership drop with these proposals we have in front of us. It will be a little bit difficult to determine how much of it is associated to the fare increase and how much of it is associated to the service changes, because the economy is very different at each of these times. We can know that pretty consistently about every 5 years or so there was a fare increase, and we haven't had one in 10 years. Next. So this is the proposal for the fare increase. It's a 25% fare increase, almost completely across the board. The exceptions are there would not be an increase on the transfers. And so the basic cash fare, which is if you go and put cash into the fare box, would go up from $1.25 to $1.60. If you purchase the 31-day passes, it would go up $11 if you have the full pass. And if you are eligible for the elderly and disabled pass, that pass would go up approximately $6. And so you would still get that $2 discount if you buy at Big Y. So for example, right now it's $45 pass, and you buy it at Big Y, it's $43. It would still be similar. Buy it at Big Y, it would be $54, as opposed to buying it here at our customer service, it would be $56. The other fares, so like I said, all the fares are going up except for the transfers. And the paratransit van zones, the small van services, those fares will be going up 25% as well, with 50-cent increments in between the zones. And then we'll talk about this beyond 3/4 of a mile when we get to the service change proposals. So in addition to what we have in front of you, for the 2018, we also have a proposed multi-year increase. This is a plan for the future so that we're not waiting 10 years again to show that, you know, we are forward thinking. And it's roughly about a 5% increase implemented every 3 years. So these are what the numbers would be. But this is a plan. This is if we were to implement this in 21 or 2024, we would go out to public hearing. We would do all the processes that we have to do. But this is just a plan for the future so that we're not waiting again 10 years to do anything and that we have it on our radar. So we're going to now talk about the service changes. So the big one is reducing Saturday service to current Sunday service levels. So what that means is we would operate weekend service. So what operates on Saturday and Sunday would be the same, and it would operate what is the current Sundays. So if your route doesn't run on Sunday, it would no longer run on Saturday. If the route ends earlier or starts later on Sunday, it would also now do that on Saturday. And if your bus came less often on the current Sunday schedule, maybe it comes every hour as opposed to every half an hour on Saturday, it would now come every hour on Saturday. So weekend service would be the same on Saturday and Sunday at the lower levels. And if you have a specific question about how that would impact for a route, one of the boards we have over there goes over route by route what that means, and I'll be glad to afterwards answer those questions or have someone read it, because I can't read it from here and I haven't memorized all of them yet. We're also looking to operate Sunday service on all holidays. So currently, there are 2 holidays we don't operate, and we would continue to not operate on those 2 holidays, which is Thanksgiving and Christmas. And there are 2 holidays which we operate Saturday service on, which would be Columbus Day and Veterans Day. We would be operating Sunday service on those 2 holidays. So all the implications that I mentioned before would apply there as well. Another one that is proposed is reducing frequency on evening service. This is weekday evening service after 6 p.m. Dropping down the frequency, maybe right now it's every half an hour on certain routes, dropping it down to, 45 minutes an hour. And we have the specifics on one of the boards has the specifics for the routes and what the frequency might be or how many trips would be eliminated. The next 3 have to do with service in the north. Does anybody ride in the Northampton, Amherst area? Okay, so these changes have to do during the no school service. So there's the school service when the students are around, and then there's the no school service when the students are not around. And this would be, like last week was no school during spring break, winter break, summer break. And so we're looking to end service earlier on those reduced service days by 9 o'clock for the routes that operate out of the Amherst area. So this does not include the B43. We're looking at eliminating Sunday service on the reduced service days for the routes that operate out of the Amherst garage. Again, this does not include the B43 or the R29, which also service Amherst. And then looking at reducing the frequency on those reduced service days for the routes 30 and the 31, essentially cutting it in half. We have several routes that are, we're looking at restructuring them. We have set up performance measures for the routes. These indicators let us know how well the route is doing, and when a route is not doing well, we look at changing things. And so we are looking at restructuring some poor performing routes or the segments of the routes. And so those would include the R24 here in Holyoke, the B17, which operates in Springfield and Wilbraham, the 39, which operates Northampton, Hadley, South Hadley, the Palmer Shuttle, the Ware Shuttle, the Nashawanic Shuttle, the Route 46, which goes up to South Deerfield from Amherst, as well as the 98 Crosstown route in Northampton. We're looking at restructuring those ones. And if you have a specific question on what the restructuring is, I've got to go over with you afterwards. So those are our main changes. So those are our main changes for the fixed route side, so the big buses. We also have changes to our van service. So any of the changes on the fixed route side that impact when the routes run, the hours that they start and the hour that it ends, or the days that it runs, will carry over to the van side for the ADA. And one of the handouts on the table over there gives what the hours would be town by town underneath these proposed service changes. We're also looking at eliminating senior van service, which is also called the dial ride service, to adult day health centers and to non-PVTA towns. And so the adult day health centers, individuals going to these centers, they usually have funding eligible through their insurance or other transportation means, and so it's transferring them from our service over to a human service transportation brokerage system that has the money and the availability and the resources to carry these people. So we're not leaving them behind, we're just transferring them over from our service to a source that has dedicated funding for them. And then the non-PVTA member towns, these would be towns like South Deerfield, Enfield, Southampton. Those are the big ones that come to mind, where we have some fixed route service that goes there. Our ADA van service would still continue to go there, but our senior van service would only serve PVTA member municipalities. And so the last one is charging a premium fare on van trips outside of the 3/4 mile buffer, and I'll explain that in a second. So these van trips would be both the senior van dial ride service as well as the ADA paratransit van service. And so this map shows what 3/4 of a mile looks like, and so you can picture it as any area that's within 3/4 mile of a fixed route would have the zonal based structure. It would not have this premium fare structure. It would have the zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 structure. So that would be the lighter gray area. In the white area, if you are either being picked up or being dropped off in that white area within a PVTA member town, you would be charged a premium fare for it. And the reasoning behind this is, so according to federal legislation, the ADA Act, we are required to provide ADA paratransit within the hours, days, periods of the year that we provide fixed route, this complimentary service within 3/4 of a mile of that fixed route. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, PVTA actually provides it to 20 of our 24 member communities. PVTA provides ADA service to the entire municipality, even if someone is being picked up or dropped off in one of the white areas. These trips are a lot more expensive for us to operate. They're almost twice the cost for us to operate, because the ones in the gray, usually a little bit more dense of an area, we can a little bit more efficient with our scheduling. We can put 2 people in one van as opposed to having 1 person in one van. So those trips are much more expensive. The PVTA advisory board felt that it was they did not want to eliminate that service outside of the 3/4 mile entirely, as several other transit systems have done, but to charge an additional fare for that to help recover the cost of this more expensive service. So this is a little hard to read, but there are handouts on this, and it's a board over there. And these are just the different proposed service changes. Some of them go route by route, and then on the next slide, it has some more that are whole system-wide. And these we already talked about in the summary of them, but if you have a specific question about one of them, we'll have the information over there. I'll be glad to answer. We have not yet finalized any of these. These are proposals. We are working on tweaking them. We've already worked on doing the tweaking up in the north, in the Amherst, Northampton area, because we have finished public hearings up in that area, and then we'll begin working on tweaking them down here in the south, in the greater Springfield, Holyoke, Chicopee area. So these changes, like I said, they're not finalized, but we are going. We're gathering feedback at these hearings and looking at how to modify the proposals within the given budget constraints that we have. So to put something on, we have to take something else away. So how to comment, and actually should say by March 19th, we did extend the deadline to today because we had to postpone the public hearing to today. So today is the last day. We have an online form that you can comment on. You can go to either our website, pvta.com, or to this URL, and we'll get some handouts later to give to you folks, so you don't have to write all this down. This is our last public hearing, as I said. As Anna said, we did 8 other ones. We also had about 8 or 9 outreach sessions where we were at the transit centers doing outreach there, or we went to some of the smaller member municipalities that we didn't have the big public hearing at, and we had sessions there, or we met with different groups as requested. So you can also comment via email. I do read all of the comments. Via phone, I do read a transcription of all of the messages left, or send a letter in the old-fashioned snail mail kind of way to our administrator, Sandra Sheehan, at our office at 2808 Main Street in Springfield, Mass. And if you were to scan that, it would bring you directly to the online form. Also, the survey that you guys were handed when you came in, the comment form, that gets coded and inputted into our online comment form. So it's just another way of collecting comments. Collecting them here at the public outreach session. So there's the ones you're filling out if you choose to fill them out, or if you want to provide testimony or comments verbally afterwards, we have a recorder and we'll be doing that as well. So moving on to the next steps. So public hearing outreach sessions end today, not March 199. That day doesn't exist. So like I said, we'll be taking the public comments, revising the proposals. Our advisory board is voting on these proposals on the 9th. It was originally the 11th, so make sure you guys know it is the 9th, and we'll be putting that information up everywhere on all of our screens because we weren't able to get everybody to attend on the 11th. So it's at the 9th. It's at 2 p.m. And I'm not sure the exact location yet, but that will be up with the information.
Planning Commission, yeah.
It is it?
Springfield.
Is
I'm
it?
pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. It's most likely at 60 Congress Street in Springfield at the Planning Commission, but I have not confirmed that yet with their scheduling team. So we have to do this in order to adopt our budget by May 23rd so that we can implement it by July 1. That's the start of the fiscal year.
Your fiscal year or state's?
We'll get into
Oh,
our fiscal year.
I know.
Our fiscal year is July 1. And so these will be implemented. It depends on where. So in the Amherst, Northampton area, they'll be implemented by May 13th. That's when the students leave. So that's when it cuts down to reduced or no school service when after graduation of the schools. And then here in the greater Springfield area, which does include Holyoke here, it will be on June 24th. And then the fare increase will be put in on July 1st. And so I'm going to hand it over to Anna, and we'll be glad to take any questions that you might have. We ask first for questions, and then if you have comments, then we'll go around with the recorder to make sure we capture your comment with it. But we ask first because some people might have the same question. So I know you had a question, sir.
What's the difference between a question and a comment?
Well, a question I have an answer for. A comment is something you want to verbalize a
All
testimony.
right, I'll just turn to
Let
the
me
question.
explain. Everybody will have at least 3 minutes to do the comments, and like we said, if they're gonna be recorded and transcribed. I will ask you if you please say your name,
Yes.
and in
First
that
and
way
last.
we make it formal and it gets actually on the count and it can be transcribed. And right now we're gonna open the floor for questions and answers. If you wanna make a comment, if you can state it is a personal comment and your name, it will be recorded anyway. Okay, do you wanna start?
I'll ask as a question. First, can we go back to a different slide?
Yep. Just which slide was it? The one that we were talking about
The
before?
fiscal years.
This one.
There,
This
aha.
is the one.
All right. Is it me, or is it that slide puts everything as written in stone? But
This is historical.
how can FY18, that's a question, how can FY18 be historical? It hasn't finished yet.
That's
FY,
projected. But
well, it doesn't say projected, does it?
No, that's the monies that the state has
It's
given
the
us.
money
We
being
have a
fiscal
contract
year.
with the state for that.
You have you received it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Go
Okay.
after them.
Now, FY19, have you received that?
No, so this is.
So
the-
that's, these are proposals next to actuals, right?
So the one in red is what is based off of what the governor's budget was, what the governor announced at the end of January, his budget for the RTAs. So in Massachusetts, there are 15 regional transit authorities, of which PVTA is the largest. He said, we're gonna give you $80.4 million, and this is the percent or the amount that PVTA would get from that. So-
Would, that's future, right?
Yes,
Is
but-
that a future statement?
Correct.
Yes. Same with 19, would get.
No,
So-
18 we received already, 19 will be wood.
Okay, so how are you basing that against your income? You can't say that, how much you've got for FY15 yet, can you? You're
But-
projecting that
Go
also.
back to the budget.
Well, that is the budget,
No,
isn't it?
one second, this budget, the fare box, historically, the fare box has always been 16% of our total budget.
Okay, that doesn't
And
say
the
that
federal
there,
granted
did there?
one.
So that's also a projected number, isn't it? That
This
isn't
is-
written in stone. It is a projected number that helps you, is it not?
This is fiscal 2018, the year we're currently in.
Yeah, currently, so that's projected. It doesn't say
No, it's
projected.
received.
You received that much already.
all
Boy, you're
except
having
for
a
the-
bad year because
all of-
2018 is not over yet.
No,
It's
our
like,
fiscal year ends June 30th, sir, so
I-
almost,
so that's still projected. Is there a difference between projected and real? I'm going to give you money or I have given you money. That's the difference, right?
Right, so this is the latter category, and then,
so it's
Yeah,
the
'cause-
19 that is estimated.
And,
right.
and the 18, you have
No, no.
received it, but is that money based on what you're gonna take? Because you're gonna lose money by cutting down in 18 routes. Now, let's go back to FY17. Is it me, or is it possible that in 17, you have cut back your routes, therefore cutting back your income and
We did
ridership?
not cut back our routes in FY17.
You've changed them, the 48 went on Sunday.
Fiscal year 18, September
In
2017.
Last year, the 48 went from every hour down to,
Yes.
from every hour,
Fiscal
you've
year-
changed it,
fiscal
therefore.
year
Yes, that was in
18,
fiscal year 18.
We did. In fiscal year 17,
No,
we did
you're not
not
hearing my
change.
question. My question is, in fiscal 17, because the 48 went from every half hour on the weekends
Right.
down to on every hour on, I take the 48 a lot, and that happened in FY.
It happened in calendar year 17, it happened in fiscal year 18.
Oh, okay, another way to dazzle us, thank you. Uh,
Can I suggest that maybe we go separately after the Q&A session to sort through your comment, just because I don't want to get lost down a rabbit hole on the
Well,
fiscal year.
this is a rabbit hole right there, I believe,
Yeah.
because you're putting real next to proposed.
Yeah, can I suggest that maybe once the Q&A and
Well,
public comment session is done,
I
that we
like
can
a
talk more
crowd.
about
I
the.
would like a crowd, because it's being recorded, so.
Yeah, I just want to be respectful to the other
I-
participants.
Have I been respectful? How
We
have
to
I
be-
not?
We have to balance our budget before the end of the year, and so we have to go on what is historical or what we've been told by the state. It is very well possible that the House and the Senate come back with a larger number, and
Okay.
in the event that the House and the Senate come back in a larger number, and after they conference and the governor doesn't veto it and it actually comes back, then we would be looking to add service back in that was removed.
Okay, can I go for my next question?
Yeah, can I ask you, it's gonna be time to come back because we don't have a big crowd, but I just gave you 3 minutes to you. I wanna
How
be
much was it?
mindful.
It says 2.5.
No, 24 seconds left.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but
So,
if
it
you
wasn't
don't
3.
mind, I will come back to you. I will give somebody else the
All right.
chance. It is another question. Somebody wanna talk? We're gonna come back to you, I promise. So you wanna
I
say
have
your
a
name?
question, I'll make a comment. Okay, my name is Joe Lane, I come from Springfield.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about
If you
is
wanna
this
get it recorded,
transit
sir.
system bailed out Boston during a snowstorm by sending buses and personnel to help them. Okay, the state did
Where'd
nothing
they get the money for
for
that?
this transit to honor us that we bailed them out.
Right.
and now they're cutting us.
Right. Which
What
is
we need to
unfair.
do is remind them that we did that. And that what's fair is fair. If we helped you, now you have to help
Help
us.
us.
We are always the forgotten end of the state when it comes to money.
Yep.
I have no problem with your fare increase, I've traveled all
Oh,
over.
I don't-
In Rhode
I don't
Island,
know.
a day pass is $6. In Connecticut, a day pass is $3.75. So I've spent a lot of time traveling by transit all over the United States. The fare in Vegas is $2.50 each way. It's not a question of that. It's a question of your transit system is the forgotten child by the Commonwealth
Yep.
of Massachusetts.
We are
It's
down
now
to
you
that.
need to speak up for yourselves and say, we bailed you out in
Now
your
it's
time
your
of
turn.
need.
Now-
Now, you
We
need
need
to step up for us.
Absolutely.
We need it.
They put an ad in the Herald and say, we bailed you people out. And now the governor has allocated money that would come here to fix some trains that are broken, because it was in the Herald already. That's why the money's not coming here.
And
We're
we
fixing
need it here.
trains.
We help them, but they don't want to help us.
I'm sorry, can we
No.
let him finish his
Okay,
time and
sure.
then I will come
Go
back?
sit
Oh,
down.
look,
I'm all set, thank you.
Oh,
You're doing a good job, I just want to say, but I mean,
Okay.
you gotta go
Okay.
after Boston.
Do you want to go
Yeah.
next?
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you,
I
sir.
think-
The governor
You're doing a good
gave
job.
me $30.40 for my this being disabled. The federal government gives me a lot more. The governor Baker is sick, but it comes to him, he puts his money in the pocket, and he's all right with that. And he's planning to budget on the poor, and that's it. And I don't like it, and we don't like it, and that's a fact. And have a good day. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I have a question
Thank you
about
for
a
your comment.
statistic.
Okay.
I have, again, it's on a slide. I will, you heard, I guess, you heard on that. Next, I have a question about, you said we're the second lowest fare in the state.
Yep.
Let's go to that. Does that take into, the
Sorry, I'm trying to find, here it is.
there it is. Does that take into account that we're the lowest per capita city and area in the state? Lawrence might be close, but I think we're below Lawrence.
I think Lawrence might be lower, sir.
It's tied, or pretty darn close.
And there are a lot of other cities in similar situations, like
Mm.
Washington.
It does not, it is purely what is the base fare for paying, and then for certain systems, because it's taking the average of the base fare, because some systems have a distance-based
Right,
fare, where
but
if you go
our
and go longer, so it is
Right,
based, they're just
yeah.
saying it is the second lowest in the state.
The fare,
The fare, correct, sir.
and pretty close, I don't know exactly,
Certainly all in the same ballpark.
as Lawrence is the lowest per capita. Now, so gee, Boston is the largest per capita incomes. Well,
Boston's not also the richest either, but yeah.
in the state,
Other
the
cities,
golden circle around Boston.
Regardless.
Do you ever, okay,
That
regardless,
area-
we'll move on.
Yes.
Schools. You can ride between those colleges, special colleges, for free, right? Am I correct? There is
Are we talking
a
about
free
here?
PVTA bus.
It is free for college and students and for faculty and staff, because the
Yeah.
universities pay the cost.
Yeah, you have to pay to get HCC.
Not if you're an HCC student.
I didn't know that, thank you. Is that on the Express?
yes,
yeah,
on the
yes.
P11 Express.
On the
Right,
Express,
for
but if
students.
you're coming in from Westfield,
Any of the.
or to Westfield State, is
Any-
it
It
free?
should
Yes.
work on the 23
Okay,
as well.
thank you.
Any of the routes.
Thank you,
that go
because
out.
I never knew that, it wasn't. Okay, and I have one more question, and another pertinent one. The,
Sir, do you, you
Oh.
have one, can we
Okay,
take one more
fine,
question and you
fine.
come back, and that way we can be
Okay,
fair with everybody
right.
in the audience?
right,
Do you want to go? And I will come back, I promise.
No, I just don't think, we're not complaining about fare increases and stuff like this. What we're especially the R24.
yes.
We are complaining about losing our bus to all the elderly buildings down here, downtown. Our elderly downtown here need those buildings for doctor's appointments, for blood work to go to the hospital. We also need them for grocery shopping. A lot of people use them and you people don't realize it. They don't realize how many people in these elderly buildings use the PVTA bus. And there are a lot of them that are in wheelchairs. There's a lot of them that use walkers that cannot walk all the way down here to catch the bus. They need the buses to go to these buildings. You want to take that bus away from them just to make it a longer route, which is not going to work. They have a bridge they cannot go over because it's weight limited, and it's a winding road. In the wintertime, they will slide right down that hill into either a house or a school, or
Right on Route 5.
right onto Route 5. It's not going to work. I know this, I've driven it with a car.
Has
And
anybody
it's-
ever been down that
Have
road?
any of you ever driven that road? If you
By Mount Marie, you go over that
It-
wooden bridge
Oh,
down
yeah.
the hill,
Well, it does not get sanded and salted very well in the wintertime.
and you won't be
Alright.
able to get up the hill.
And you won't be able to come back up because it's very, very slippery. And it's a winding road.
But
And that bridge only holds one vehicle at a time. If there's one coming this way with the bus, one coming this way, there is going to be an accident, without a doubt. Because that one coming up is not going to see that bus coming down.
oh, definitely.
Does it
And this
come
is where I'm
like this?
complaining, I'm not complaining, I'm explaining to
There
you,
was
this
an
is what's
accident
going to
with that
happen.
bridge.
I've driven it, I know what it's like.
But I guess.
And when I drove it in my car, I ended up in a ditch because I tried to avoid going down to Route 5.
Okay, so
You know, and it's
Yeah,
not,
I don't know,
it's not
continue.
great.
I agree. There was an
They
accident.
need to, if they want to change the route for the R24 to go to the mall, fine. We had it that way before. 1 hour they went to the mall, the next hour they had a smaller run. And they were able to keep it going where they didn't lose time. If they do this long route every hour, they're going to lose time. They'll lose an hour by the end of the day.
Thank you.
One last quick question. Have you sought funding other than your normal sources, i.e., have you, let's say, approached Tesla because you got electric buses? They might be interested in funding that. Have you approached the EPA because the carbon footprint on the bus is a lot lower than how many here came on the bus to Holyoke?
Not one, I bet.
There you are, excellent. But
One?
Good for you.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of
really.
things going on in carbon
If you ride a
footprints.
bus, you know what we're talking
There
about.
should be money. There are other places, have you ever thought of advertising?
So, can I answer your question?
Yes.
So we have gone after money. In that form, it's called congestion mitigation air quality, and that is what funds that route right now. So we are pursuing that on a few other of the changes as well, and we do advertising on all of our buses.
Part of the road
Okay,
right there.
externally, I only saw one so far.
Externally, there's on
Outside.
yeah,
Race car drivers can do it. Hopefully you don't have race car drivers on your bus. Thank you, I have to, I have a
Thank you
point.
for the
I gotta
comment.
Thank
back
you.
up.
They have them driving the
Sir.
bus.
There you go. All right.
It is somebody else with comment or questions?
I have a
Like-
comment about that, servicemonkey.com. What is that, Service Monkey?
Survey Monkey. It's just a tool for an online.
I don't like
software.
I don't like the word monkey in there.
It's
It's
just
it's
That's
used
the
by,
point,
can I
that's
just
the
say
name
that?
of the company.
A lot of businesses use that, it's just called Survey Monkey, that's the name of the company.
It
It's not
sounds
meant
like
to
they're
be.
calling us monkeys.
No, it's not for this, it's for, colleges use it, businesses use it.
Well, I
road
think they
users
should
it.
change the name.
Well, that's what's available to use.
Oh,
That's
wow.
all.
It's a
not
free, it's a
that,
free
right.
survey,
Yeah.
platform, so
Right.
it makes it easier for anybody that wants to survey to
I
use
should
them.
see that.
Go on servicemonkey.com
Yeah, I know.
and find out what's going on. Brother, whoever comes up with names like that.
Any
Okay.
other
Are they still
comment?
planning to put Saturdays at Sunday times
Yes,
still?
Yep.
yes.
Even the big routes?
All of
Yep,
it.
every route.
Yeah, that board that you're standing next to has all of
That,
this.
that won't
Oh,
work
okay.
till 24 because
I
we
don't
don't
mind
get it
the
on
prices
Sundays.
raising, you need to be done.
Doesn't-
But the
doesn't
changes
go-
for Saturdays,
No.
too much is, at
Yeah,
least,
but how
it'd
many
be
people
horrible.
would use it on Sundays?
No, not.
He's being recorded right now. Thank you.
Do you have a comment?
No,
Do you-
no, I
do you wanna-
don't.
Okay,
I'm just asking.
okay.
Either way, you guys will say it anyways. No way can stop you guys.
We're actually, we've taken the public comments and we're
I know,
working
that's
on,
okay.
on mitigation. You'll see the changes.
What did the people up in Amherst have to say about all this?
Pretty much the same, except for because we're cutting their Sunday service entirely, that was their big concern there.
So the mitigation from Amherst, as far as I understand, involves putting back some Saturday and Sunday service, to avoid having like a complete cut. So I'm expecting the same will happen here as we go into the
I
mitigation
don't see
phase.
anything that we don't know. We're able to make changes up there. We haven't looked at these routes yet to know what changes we can make and done a deep dive based on
What area does that service up there? The Amherst area?
Amherst, Sunderland, Belchertown, Hadley, South Hadley, Northampton, Williamsburg,
Oh.
East Hampton.
You have a lot of ridership up around that?
Yes, actually, huge.
Especially around Amherst, yeah,
During the school year?
during the school.
Some of our top ridership routes are in that area.
Any other
No,
comment?
it does,
concern?
and I have one other thing to say. I'm losing the 24 on Saturday is very difficult for us because we don't get it on Sunday anyway. But if they go to the Sunday schedule, it means we lose it on Saturday also.
Because they have no Sunday
And
schedule.
a lot of us use it on Saturday to go grocery shopping. And I mean, if they want to do what they did before, we used to get it every 2 hours. Now we get it every hour. Bring it back to every 2 hours. What difference would that make if you give it to us on a Saturday for the elderly to do their grocery shopping? They're in wheelchairs, they have walkers, they can't come all the way down here to get on the Purple 20 to go up to Kmart. You know, the 24 would go right to their building.
I think the reason they want to cut that is because the bus comes, it leaves here at, say, 9 o'clock, and it gets back here at 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy that drives the bus has a whole half hour of doing nothing.
That's why we added more to it.
That's right.
And that's why
Yeah.
we made the route longer.
So
That's why they made it longer.
So
but-
why don't they just keep going? Stop for 5 minutes and pick up whoever at 9:30 and continue on, instead of getting that half-hour break.
Yeah, I mean, that would even work.
Why, I mean, you're paying the guy, or not paying him for the half hour, I don't know how you work that. You're paying him?
Yeah, not being personal.
No,
but
no,
yes,
but what
in
I'm
case
saying
it's-
is, yeah.
Yeah.
I understand, I know what
It varies
she's
by
saying.
day and it goes into a system that pulls out for service. So yes and no, depends on the person, depends on how many hours they're at for the day already.
But if he's, like she's saying, if he's coming back here by 9:30, say,
After his trip to
after
the
his trip to the
Holyoke
hospital,
he comes back and he's arriving
He's
at
here.
9:30, 9:35,
9:35, give him 5 minutes to
Yeah,
load up his
and then
new passengers
keep
and
going.
leave again.
instead of stopping for a
Instead-
half an hour,
Waiting.
you know?
That would make sense.
So
That's why you people are upset, because he has a half an hour where he's not doing a thing.
Right.
So
He
then
just-
you're adding stuff to his route.
And
So
the
just
long route,
keep
like
the
I
same
explained
route,
to you.
only just keep them going instead of having them a break for half an hour.
And like I explained to him, that long route would not work for that bus because of the bridge, first of all, and because he'll come back here 5 to 10 minutes later than he should.
Instead of coming here at 10 o'clock
He'd
or
be
9 o'clock, he'd be coming back, you know,
By 10 after,
Yeah,
by
you'd
10
be
after,
running
he'd have
late.
to load right up and take off.
But if you, but if you think that that bridge and that area there for the winter time is gonna be good, you better think again and up your
Right.
insurance, because there's no way that bus is gonna make it down
No.
the hill or
Up
the
that hill, no, no way. And like
Because I went one, I used to work there, Bevan Kelly. So in the winter time, I used to have to go down that hill, over that bridge and down that hill. And one time, I was in the ditch going down the hill, so I wouldn't hit the car at the bottom of this thing. Then zipped out to Route 5.
you know, this is,
Very dangerous.
she
You'll be
knows-
sorry if you have it, if you do that.
like, she knows and I know from experience in driving down that road,
Absolutely.
that it's just isn't feasible for, even for a bus as big, or even a small bus. With a car coming up, that car is gonna come up in a winding road. It's not gonna see another car coming up or going down.
And
That
I was
bus won't
driving
see
a
it.
Cadillac.
The bus won't see it and there'll be an accident, for sure. That road is not wide enough for two vehicles. Either.
Well, that's up to them. But I'd say
But
up your
we're-
insurance.
Do you have, I'm sorry to interrupt you, do you have another question related to a different route bus, one other comment that you wanna state before?
Well, I don't know, I was thinking that the price increase is a little steep for some people. You know, there's a lot of poor elderly, poorer than some of us, and then there's the homeless, which is
Yeah.
another story.
Yeah, the homeless, they're always
They-
there.
Sometimes don't pay to get on the bus,
Mm,
and the drivers let them,
Yeah,
you know, not that I begrudge them that, but I mean, even still. I don't know how often it happens elsewhere, but I know it happens a lot here.
yeah, it does.
Because we
On
have a
certain
lot of
buses.
homeless, young people, men,
Yeah.
mostly men, but not all that young. But that's, you know, oh, and they'll stop you at the bus depot, you have $1, I need to get on the bus.
Or 10 cents or 25
Yeah,
cents,
yeah.
you know, or I've seen them where they've been standing on the corner collecting money and they get to the bus driver and say, I don't have any money, he's got a wad of money like this in his pocket, you know?
Yeah.
And I've seen drivers say, oh, it's okay, you know? No, that's not fair. It's not fair to everybody that's paid to get on. I pay monthly, so, you know, but that's besides the
And a
point.
lot of them too sort of overlooked young girls with babies and carriages and stuff.
Okay.
You people don't ride the bus.
No.
You should ride the
You
bus
should
for a
ride the
week.
bus. Ride the bus, no, ride the bus
Yeah,
just
right.
for 1 week.
You don't see any of that?
I see it all the time.
Oh, there
I
you
take the
go.
48 and the 21 Express pretty much every day.
Yeah.
I'll be, well,
You know, people should, that are doing all of this in the
Maybe you
offices,
should, yeah.
should ride, you know, make a surprise ride on any of the buses.
Somebody
And
that
they'll
they
see it.
don't know.
Right.
I wanna conclude the hearing for today. I wanna thank you. If you wanna stay, they usually stay a little bit longer if you have more questions about a particular route, but I wanna thank you all on behalf of the PVTA team, and your comments are very important and are gonna be considered. Thank you so much.